That's great.
And you was the first person I met as part of the mastermind. And that you had the the recording studio as well. And I remember that last evening, and then Kevin Rogers gets up singing, and John Carlton's on the guitar, and you was playing the drums, and we've got the
Right.
lefty bass, and I'm like, hey, I can do
Right.
that. And it
I know
kind
you
of like
did.
was my initiation into the group. Like it was
Right.
the point. I was like, yeah, okay. So I was completely out of my comfort zone, turning the guitar upside down and just figuring out how to play these tunes. So that was an amazing experience. But there was one thing that that stood out. I was like quite specific about the dinosaur thing because um, certainly in the last year, you've just like for people that are like, no, no, I do live events. They're extinct, right? Must be
Yeah. Yeah.
because you know you've the changes, the hardship to some degree, Richard, that you've had to go through in the last year. So the highs are high, the lows are low, obviously in business. But
Yeah.
tell me about the last year and how you've had to adapt and change, and you know, and I guess that will lead us into Sammy the Bull because
Yeah.
that story's just been amazing.
After, like mid-February of 2020, and I was planning on like going to Scotland for my birthday in April, yada yada. And so within about 6 weeks of coming home, everything I had on the calendar for the rest of the year was canceled. Everything, everything. And I'm like, this is pretty bad. I'm going to have to figure this out. Um, and so there were a couple months where I really didn't know what to do. I'm like, I'm not really, and it was like nobody was doing anything at that point in time. There were people who were talking about doing virtual events, but that wasn't even really happening yet. And so I had to figure out, okay, if we're going to do virtual events, how are we going to serve these people? So I had to, figure out all these different platforms, all the equipment that we had, all the things that were going in the early days, and how do we put all these technologies together to give people a great experience, not only in terms of if they come to our office, but also the attendees, and linking computers together. And then it was like, oh man, so how do we create it to where it's not janky, like like because if people were showing their slides, they're like little in the middle or little, I'm like, well, that's not good either. So then I had a program made. I had an application made to where you send me your PowerPoint presentation. I have it on my computer here. I send you a link, and you can control your PowerPoint from the UK with on a mobile device or computer, so we can have total control of those things right here at the studio, and we can create a premium experience, create premium product, and make you look put side by side or whatever. So I had to figure all these technologies out, and that was great, and we got some traction, but it wasn't enough. And so then I got into equipment sales,